So 12 years ago, it was Christmas Eve and I was freaking out. We had just decided that we were going to work to fulfill my parents' dream and a dream that my wife and I, Celeste, had decided was our dream, which was to establish a ranch and camp here in the Rio Grande Valley. And we had sold our house. We had resigned our position at a local church. And we had pulled our kids out of private school. We moved in with my parents. We paid off all of our bills and we were starting, but we had no income. We had no support. We had no camp. We had nothing. And I was thinking, what have I done to my family? What am I doing? What is this? This is crazy. And so I'm up, just freaking out. And the next morning, we had Christmas Day, and my wife gives me an envelope, and I open it, and it's like a thing, and it says, "By faith, $5,000." And I'm like, "Wow, that's awesome, hon. I know you have faith that God's going to provide, and it's going to work out." And she said, "No, no, no, you don't understand. I just got a call from my family, and we're actually getting $5,000 as an inheritance from my grandmother." And man, I started to cry because I realized, what, God came through in a moment for us. And so that's how we started Big Red's Ranch, Big Red Ministries, all this stuff that we do now was out of that $5,000 inheritance from my wife's grandmother. And we've seen this happen over and over and over again, meaning we get into a really tight spot. I freak out and it's really tough. And I talk to my wife and she encourages me and she says, just have faith and God will provide. And guess what? God has provided over and over and over and over and over again. But fast forward to this summer. So this summer we were hosting camp and we're right in the middle of it. We had 2 days left. And my dad was supposed to speak, and he was sick that morning, and so he wasn't able to speak to the kids. So I'm sitting up in my room. I'm trying to get ready for that service and get ready to talk to the kids, and I'm just cramming. And I get a phone call, and the phone call is from this guy who said, "I just talked to one of your employees, and he's the one that you had some credit card fraud on back in January, and with Wells Fargo, the same people that did the fraud in." January now actually have access to your account. They're out of Florida. We need to go ahead and shut down your account, start a new account so that we can protect your money. And we hadn't done our payroll yet at that point. Like it was coming like that weekend. And so I was starting to freak out a little bit. Didn't have a lot of time. I said, "Okay, but we got to do this fast." He said, "No problem. We can take care of it. I'll help you out." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to send you a code. You need to read it back, and that'll confirm your identity." And so he sent me the code. I read it back, confirmed my identity. Then he said, "Okay, I need to send another code to start the new account." Okay, send another code, start the new account. Okay, now here is your user ID. He read off my user ID. He said, "Now I need your password." I said, "Okay, I think it's this." And so I gave him my password, and he said, "No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. You need to find your password." I'm like, "Oh." So I went into my computer, I looked around, finally figured it out. Okay, got my password. I gave him my password. He said, "Okay, yeah, that worked. That's fine." He said, "Okay, I have one more code to send you." Sends me the code, read it back to him. I said, "Okay." He said, "Okay, now I need you to go ahead and log into your account." So I log into the account. He said, "I need you to go to wire transfers." Go to wire transfers. In wire transfers, it's set up and it says Big Red Ministries new account. And it had a wire transfer set up for $25,000. He said, "Okay, I need you to go ahead and authorize that so that we can start the new account." And I said, "No." I said, and I realized in that moment that I was actually talking to the scammer. And so I said, "No, I'm hanging up the phone. I'm calling Wells Fargo." So I hang up the phone. I call Wells Fargo. And you have to go through all the automated system. I finally get to somebody that is a person, and I'm talking to this lady, and she says, "I'm so sorry, it is too late. They've already transferred $25,000." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's too late?" She said, "Wire transfers are immediate. There's nothing we can do." I said, "Well, I need to talk to a supervisor." And so I get on the line with the supervisor, and she says, "Well, there's nothing I can do, but we will put in, investigation or whatever." So I get off the phone. We're still doing camp. I had to scramble and get that covered. And my wife and I head to the bank. We go straight to the bank, bank can't help us. The only thing that we can do at the bank is go ahead and shut down the account and start a new account with the money that we have left in that account. And oh my gosh. So I contacted the FBI. The FBI went down to the bank, and what he told me is that basically there was nothing that he could do. That he was a field agent, and that the money had apparently already been withdrawn from the bank that it was transferred to, and there was nothing could do. Again, we have 2 more days of camp to do. We don't have time to do anything. So we just have to move forward. We can't, I mean, what are we going to do? And so we actually got a donation from a friend, and then we just kept doing camp. And we actually had 4 more weeks of camp to do after that. And I have to admit, like over the years, there's been, part of the tears is because there's just been so many different challenges, like over and over, just challenges after challenges. And many times in the midst of those challenges, I'll feel so much responsibility. Like, man, I messed up. Like I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And so, like, if I had only done this, then we wouldn't be in this tough spot. But then sometimes I feel victimized, like, why, God, why? Why is this happening to me? What did I do? You know, why haven't, like, we're working so hard, like, why haven't you come through, And those are tough prayers to have. Like, it's not the right attitude, it's not the right thing, but in the midst of it, it's hard. And but man, it's been a hard 2 years, and God's taught me a lot of things in the last 2 years, and one of those things was just to trust him. And so in this situation, I honestly I didn't have time to freak out. I didn't have time to question all those things. It was just we ended up receiving a donation from a friend, and that was very generous, and we just kept moving forward. And what I started to do is, instead of questioning God, and instead of being devastated by it, I actually started to ask, like, why are we still here? I started to thank God. I said, thank you, God. Like, we survived. We survived this crazy thing that happened to us. So why? Why are we still here? Like, so many things have happened to us. Like, we shouldn't still be here, and yet we're still here. So why? And I kept asking that question. Oh man. And so then in November, golly, dang it. This is okay. In November, we hosted our adoption event, and this is an event I look forward to every year. So we host 50 kids from our community who are eligible for adoption, and our goal is just like, man, make sure that this is so much fun. That this is just like an awesome, awesome event for them. Um, and then we invite the parents that are interested in adopting to come and participate with those kids so they can get to know them in a very relaxed environment. And then maybe there'll be a connection and maybe an adoption. And there's been some adoptions that have come out of this event in the past. And so it's been a really, really neat event for us. And I'm thankful that we have the ability to do it. We partner with San Benito Rotary to do this. And it's pretty awesome. But this year I was really disappointed because there were 50 kids and there were barely any parents that came out. And so I was talking to one of the staff who advocates for these kids, and she told me that in Cameron County alone, about 600 kids go to bed every single night in the midst of some kind of family crisis. Some of them are already in foster care, separated from their families. Some are under investigation, and about to go into foster care. There's all different places. And so when I ask myself, like, why are we still here? I realize it's to fulfill the mission that we put on our shirts, which is fight for the fatherless. Like, we're still here because those kids still need us. Dang it. Like, our mission is to strengthen families and fight for the fatherless. And I'll be honest, like, there's times where I'm just overwhelmed with that mission because sometimes my family needs to be strengthened. Sometimes I need to be strengthened. And but I realized in that moment when I was talking to her, it's like if we want to make a difference in our community, these are the kids that need help first. Like those are the kids, and I don't know everything that we can do, but I do know that God's blessed us in all these years with a ranch. We have a 62-acre ranch. We get to manage a 300-acre campground. We can help those places be a second home for these kids. We can help engage them more often. It doesn't mean that we stop doing our family events, like our Easter event, our fall event, our Christmas event. It means we do those and we invite those kids to those events. It doesn't mean we stop doing our summer camps. It means we do those and we start to invite more of those kids. And then we also look to add some events for those kids. And so this Christmas, I just want to encourage everyone just to appreciate all that you have. Like, why are you still here? Like, why are we still here? Like, why are you still here? What difference do you think that you might be able to make in the lives of the people around you? Because man, that's where it's at. You know, this summer I shared this story of being robbed with the kids at camp, like one of our later camps, and I said, you know what? I believe that God can redeem any situation. I believe He can use any of the hardships that we go through. He can turn it around and use it for good, even when it doesn't make sense and when it's just crazy and it's like, what in the world? I mean, this is so ridiculous. And one of the little girls raised her hand and she said, well, what if like the guy that took the money, what if he needed it so he could help some people that really needed it? And I was like, oh, okay. That was hard for me to accept, but it was the innocence of a child, the innocence to see an enemy, not to see an enemy as an enemy, but as someone that needed help. But it's the same kind of innocence that we embrace at Christmas, right? It's the innocence that Jesus was born a baby, an innocent baby, a vulnerable baby. And he lived in this cruel and dark world and was the only human not to lose his innocence, not to become cynical, not to give up on us, not to say that it's not worth it or not to be compromised. And then he died for us. And he did it so that we could have life in him and we could have hope in him and we could have forgiveness in him and he could take away our shame and he could restore our innocence. And so I pray that this Christmas you can experience this innocence, this hope, this peace, in the midst of anything that you're going through, that you can find that place to say, you know what? I'm still here. And God still has a purpose for me. And God has not abandoned me. And so I hope at Christmas that you're able to experience that and to know that and to encourage others in that. And that is my Christmas Eve message to you.